And of course, one of the main people who's trying to bring new recruits to Agartha is Agartha Kirk, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed version.
It's just so gay, bro. They hate gay people, but they just be doing just the gayest shit, bro.
Attention soldier. The Soys have successfully planted an improvised soylent device, better known as an ISD.
A soylent device has been implanted.
Resurrected by this man named Ashtar Sharon.
Oh God, look, I mean, but guys, let's be honest. I mean, come on, right? We've seen this before. This is not, this is not new. TikTok's new alt-right pipeline is insane. Video by Ryan Beard Productions. Guys, racism is actually becoming funny again. It's becoming funny again because it's like the racists, they're like, they're like memeing themselves. It's kind of funny, but still it needs to stop, but it's at least a little funnier now. Check this out.
Hey, what's up, guys? So we've all fallen down the alt-right pipeline once or twice, right? One day you come across a Ben Shapiro feminist-owned compilation, and the next day you suddenly find yourself with a tiki torch marching in Charlottesville.
Right.
One day you're listening to this nice Jewish man explain to you why feminism is bad, and the next day you've suddenly shaved your head and now you hate Ben Shapiro. This is a joke. I have never fallen down the alt-right pipeline. Back in high school, I did watch.
I think that's also the case for most people, especially people that aren't white. But even amongst white people, at least 50% of them didn't do it. So
a couple Ben Shapiro feminist-owned compilations, and I remember coming away from those videos thinking that, yeah, some of these BuzzFeed girl boss type feminists were kind of annoying, but I remember thinking to myself at the time, okay, maybe these specific feminists are annoying, but why would that mean that women in general shouldn't have equality? And so I was never convinced to turn against feminism, and that's about as far as I ever fell down the alt-right pipeline.
Sure.
I think it's pretty interesting how a lot of people talk about how Ben Shapiro is one of the people who sent them down the alt-right pipeline,
right?
Because the end of the alt-right pipeline is the alt-right, where people are blatantly anti-Semitic.
Yeah.
Hey, Ben Shapiro, how do you feel about the fact that you've been sending people down a pipeline to eventually hate you?
Exactly.
That's probably
and the same criticism can be said for black conservatives. It's like look at Officer Tatum. He grew this fan base around conservatism, and then those fans started listening to conservatives that look more like them. And then eventually they find Tucker Carlson, they find Nick Fuentes, they find these people, and then they turn around and they call you a monkey. Right? They turn around and tell Myron Gaines that he's a sand N-word, and he appreciates him saying everything he says about black people and brown people and Muslims and all of that.
We're talking about a problem, then you bring it right back into, this whole white thing. Like, dude, shut the fuck up.
This whole white thing is what built this country, Myron.
Shut the fuck up, dude.
Hey, you fucking sand. You sand.
But don't get shit twisted, right? When we take over, you're out of here.
I think recently Ben has been realizing just how much he fucked up, because he's been noticing how more and more young people keep turning to alt-right figures like Nick Fuentes. So now he's been trying
Who is also a Mexican. Come on. One drop rule don't just apply to black people, man. Okay.
to like push back against Nick Fuentes and tell young people
you got more than a drop. You got a quarter of a cup, nigga. You a quarter Mexican. Brown Mexican too.
But basically everyone on the right is ignoring him. I guess when Ben was converting young people to the right, he was hoping they would become good neoconservatives who love capitalism and traditional values.
And Jewish people.
And bombing the Middle East and Israel. But recently, more and more young men seem to be moving past neoconservatism and past MAGA conservatism, and now they're embracing the far right. And I obviously think this is very bad.
Again, look at these guys. These are the guys that are talking about hang them. It's like, come on, you know, if all of these dudes had a girlfriend, they would just be doing something else, man.
Young right-wing men start to see how incompetent Trump really is. They see how he's clearly trying to hide his associations with Epstein. They see how he claims to want to make America great again, but then he keeps acting like he's Putin and Netanyahu's bitch, and he keeps sending billions of dollars to Israel.
Well, remember, it's supposedly Putin got the pictures with Bubba, you know.
Keep bombing Gaza instead of spending that money on actually helping American citizens. So when these young men start waking up to how terrible Trump is, I understand why a lot of them are going, fuck this, and then they end up moving even further right. However, I have a proposition for these young right-wing men. Instead of moving further to the right, why not move to the left and become a woke soy boy cuck pussy like me? Like, again, I think it's great.
Okay, all right, well, okay.
It's great that a lot of young people are realizing how terrible Trump is, and I think it's great that people are realizing that we shouldn't be sending billions of dollars to Israel when they're trying to commit ethnic cleansing. But I don't think that the solution to young men's problems is to move to the far right and to become an anti-Semitic white identitarian who wants to force women back into the kitchen and make it illegal to be gay. Because how is any of this going to actually solve the problems that young men are facing? Like, if young men are dealing with a loneliness epidemic, becoming an incel who wants to force women back into the kitchen is not going to help you find a girlfriend. Women are just generally not into that kind of stuff. Sure, maybe there are some base trad waifus out there, but generally women like to be able to have the choice to do whatever they want to do with their lives. And if young men are dealing with a cost of living crisis right now, why not support someone like Zoran Mamdani or Bernie, who wants to freeze your rent and give you health care? And like, if you really hate Israel, Zoran has said that we should arrest Netanyahu. That's pretty based, right?
Very based, super based, coming from a woke liberal. Oh, whoa.
Israel.
Meanwhile, your guys, really, pretty much everybody in the Republican Party, they are on their knees slurping up that fucking, what do Jewish people make? Hummus? Nah, they ain't make hummus. That's the Arabs for sure. I ain't never seen a Jewish food spot. Just haven't. Maybe they got some in New York or some shit, but I've lived in Florida, California, Texas. I've never seen one. What do they like to eat?
Accountable for their actions without becoming anti-Semites who blame all of society's problems on Jewish people. I think that sounds like a pretty fun idea. Anyway, in case you somehow don't know what the alt-right pipeline is, the idea is that you're brought into the pipeline with right-wing content that seems more innocent and innocuous, but then as you go down the pipeline, slowly the content gets more and more extreme until you realize that you've become alt-right or far-right or part of the dissident right. The way that I've seen the alt-right pipeline functioning recently, especially on TikTok, is through the spreading of Agartha memes. I would just like to apologize in advance for the rest of this video. This is all going to be some fucking grade A distilled brain rot. So basically, according to some...
This is the shit I was talking about earlier. This is funny.
Nazis, Agartha is a city that exists in the center of the earth because the earth is actually hollow.
Of course.
And if you fly past the ice wall that exists...
Man, it ain't nobody easier to sell a conspiracy theory to than a conservative, man. A Christian conservative, whoo, they'll eat that shit up, boy. Hollow earth with Agartha in the center.
In Antarctica, then you can descend into the center of the earth and get to Agartha, which is basically the promised land for Aryans. You know, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed white people that were a favorite of a certain mustache man. I've seen Agartha referred to as Wakanda for white people. If you ever watched the movie Black Panther and you found yourself really mad that all these black people were allowed to have their own civilization, well, now you can become a white panther and travel to Agartha. And of course, one of the main people who's trying to bring new recruits to Agartha is Agartha Kirk, the blonde-haired, blue-eyed version.
This shit's so gay, bro. It's like they hate the LGBTQ community. They hate gay people, but they just be doing just the gayest shit, bro. A white neo-Nazi conservative made this. They sat behind a computer on Photoshop and made this and was like, yeah, this shit fire.
Of Charlie Kirk.
This shit is heat.
Attention soldier, the Soys have successfully planted an improvised soylent device, better known as an ISD.
I guess the idea is that after Charlie Kirk passed on from this life,
Is this Gen Z humor, bro? Oh my lord. A soylent device has been implanted.
resurrected by this man named Ashtar Sharon.
Oh God, look, I mean, but guys, let's be honest. Nah, I mean, come on. Right? We've seen this before. This is not this is not new. This is not new. We've seen this before.
Ron Sheeran. I think this Ashtar guy is supposed to be like the king of Agartha. And if you drink Ashtar's Monster Energy drink, then you can turn into an Aryan. Agartha isn't real. Drink this, goy. And then Charlie Kirk drinks it and then turns into an Aryan. Now, Agartha Kirk is just one variant of Charlie Kirk that exists within the Agarthaverse. You also have the Kirkinator, which is, of course, Charlie Kirk as a Terminator. I think I definitely prefer the Kirkinator over Agartha Kirk, just because I think if Charlie Kirk was like about to die, it makes a lot more sense that he would be able to be turned into a robot than turned into a blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy. I've been noticing recently on TikTok that a lot of young people across the political spectrum have been making Charlie Kirk memes where they Photoshop Charlie Kirk's face onto a bunch of random different pictures.
We had a video talking about the Charlie Kirk memes. You can go check it out. It's pretty funny.
That conservatives were threatening to get people fired from their jobs if they made fun of Charlie Kirk, of course, caused a bunch of people to want to make fun of Charlie Kirk. I think it's pretty much always been the case that the best way to get young people to joke about something is to tell them that they're not allowed to joke about it. And I think the reason a lot of far-right people have been making fun of Charlie Kirk is because he was known for being very outspokenly pro-Israel.
You know, it's funny, I used to say that, hey, if you as a gay person would go to Gaza, they'd throw you off of tall buildings, right? Now they don't have any tall buildings left, so I don't... Is that too soon? I'm sorry. Maybe you shouldn't kill Jews, stupid Muslims.
So,
wow, what a guy. What a just, you know... That's exactly what Jesus would have said, actually, when I think about it. That's precisely what Jesus would have said.
they think it's funny to imagine him as a based, anti-Semitic, anti-Israel Aryan. Isn't it just so great that people like Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump being such obvious shills for Israel has caused a bunch of young men to turn into actual rabid anti-Semites? I'm not worried about society right now at all. To be clear, I think that most of the Agartha memes that people are sharing on TikTok are ironic. Most of these people don't literally believe that Agartha is a real place. And a lot of people who stumble across these memes just probably find them goofy and funny, and they don't understand all the far-right imagery that is attached to these memes. However, there definitely are a bunch of people who are sharing these memes in a meta-ironic way to try to funnel people towards the far right. This is exactly how pipelines work. You draw people in with memes and jokes and things that seem harmless, but then eventually you start asking them questions like, doesn't 6 million seem like an awfully big number to you? And as ironic and stupid as these memes are, people need to realize that a lot of the Nazis that these far-right people look up to actually believed in this stuff. They actually did believe in crazy shit like thinking that there are cities in the center of the earth.
Of course.
Can we go to Agartha? Agartha doesn't exist. So on the left, you have two people who are popular in the looks-maxing community. This dude's name is Cookie.
Yeah, the fucking... Bro, all of these communities just lead to being a far-right white supremacist. The gym culture, and of course, I'm talking about the online version of all these things. The gym culture, Christianity, like online Christianity and people who just go to church on Sunday, that is also a completely different thing. You know what I'm saying? But Christianity, gym culture, looks maxing, red pill, all of these, why do all of these things just funnel you towards being a white supremacist? It's crazy.
King, and apparently incel looks maxers think that this dude was like super attractive when he was in his prime. The thing I'll always find funny about looks maxing is that it's about like trying to find the most attractive possible man that you can.
Super gay. Again. There's a theme here. There's a pattern.
Find and then trying to get yourself to look like him. Isn't it just like a little bit gay to spend all your time trying to find the most attractive man possible so you can look like him? Like, how do you know who the most attractive man is if you don't find men even like a little bit attractive?
Yeah.
They would say it's not because they're gay, they're just observing objective criteria. We have determined the objective criteria which makes men hot and sexy and attractive and fuckable. On the right, we've got a Jewish Wojak saying that Agartha doesn't exist, and he's holding a juice box, which is a dog whistle for Jews. If you ever see someone posting
the bro, what? Jews? Oh my God, bro. These guys, somebody needs to stop them.
Juice box emoji, they're referencing Jews because like juice sounds like Jews.
Bro, I can't lie. These young Gen Z racists are funny, bro. They funny as fuck.
And then look, the Jew explodes and now Ashtar Sharon is here to try to get you to drink his Monster Energy. So they drink it and then they turn into
What is
Aryans.
happening?
And then the Kirkinator and George Droid.
Oh my God, really? The Kirkinator and George Droid. I don't want to be here anymore.
Cyborg version of George Floyd, take them to fly away.
Is this going to be into history books? Are they like 100 years from now when you're studying American history, are they going to read about Agartha, the juice boxes, the Kirkinator, and George Droid? Are they going to put that in there? I hope they do.
To Agartha. I think the idea here is that this monster is supposed to be filled with Vril, and Vril is a life source that comes from the black sun that exists in the center of the earth.
Of course.
I guess if you consume the Vril, you can turn into an Aryan. Apparently, there are two major cities in the center of the earth. You've got Agartha, which is lit by a golden sun, and then you've got Shambhala, which is lit by a black sun.
Nice.
It's pretty ironic that they don't want any black people in Agartha, but then the energy that they consume, which then allows them to go to Agartha, comes from a black sun.
Yeah. It's, I don't know, man. Like, why not a white sun? That sounds like it would make a lot more sense. Or just keep it golden, like the blonde hair, golden sun. A black sun. You get your power from black. Okay, got it.
Black sun, black sun. Shambhala's black sun is represented by this symbol, which is known as the Sonnenrad, which is a very common Nazi symbol. If you remember, a little while ago, there was a big controversy because Ron DeSantis put out a campaign ad which featured a Sonnenrad, which showed that there were some Nazis in his campaign staff. The Sonnenrad shows up in a bunch of these Agartha memes, like this picture of the K-pop Demon Hunters, which has a Sonnenrad behind them, or this meme where you've got Nazi Logan Paul, KSI Yakub, Ashtar Sharon, someone drinking Vril Monster Energy, which turns them into an Aryan, and then a Jewish happy merchant anti-Semite caricature up at the top. Thank you so much to whoever made this. I can literally feel my brain cells committing suicide. Speaking of suicide, you've got Nazi Logan Paul here. I guess it makes sense to have Logan Paul as a Nazi.
Just imagine sitting behind Photoshop, bro, putting all this shit together.
Because like he went to the suicide forest and Hitler went to the suicide bunker, and then KSI is depicted as Yakub because in real life KSI has a very big forehead, which I actually do find pretty funny. For some reason Yakub shows up in a lot of these Agartha.
He's allowed to make fun of big foreheads. He is. We all know why.
memes. Yaqub originates from the Nation of Islam. They believe that Yaqub was a powerful black scientist who literally created white people. I assume that most of these far-right people would not like the idea that white people were created by a black man. They probably just think that Yaqub is funny, or maybe they like to promote Yaqub because the Nation of Islam also has a history of anti-Semitism.
It's probably that part.
They do. Then again, you've got this kid here with glowing blue eyes from the Vril monster. There has actually been a bit of a controversy in the Agartha community over whether or not they should be saying that monster can give you Vril, because according to some of them, the claw marks on the front of a monster can are actually 666 in Hebrew. So you think that when you're drinking the monster, it's going to turn you into an Aryan, but then, oh no, you actually turn into a Jewish devil. Ironically, this city that's depicted in the background actually isn't Agartha, even though
is this true that Monster Energy drink is owned by Jewish people? Let me see. Short answer, no. Monster Energy is not owned by Jewish people. Monster Beverage Corporation is a publicly traded company. Okay, yeah, so millions of people own it. Let's see. It was founded by Hansen Natural Corporation, created by the Hansen family, originally Danish immigrants. Now, you could be a Jewish Danish immigrant, but probably not, right? Probably not. So, white supremacists, don't worry. You can continue to drink your monster in peace. You can continue to drink it in peace.
Actually 666 in Hebrew. So you think that when you're drinking the monster, it's going to turn you into an Aryan, but then, oh no, you actually turn into a Jewish devil. Ironically, this city that's depicted in the background actually isn't Agartha, even though it's the main city that is used in these Agartha memes. This city is actually called Hyperborea, and apparently it's a city that exists at the North Pole, which used to be inhabited by ancient Aryans. And if you zoom in, you can see in the background that there's this Nordic looking angel which is holding a swastika. Very cool. All right, let's look at one more Agartha meme. This one is AI generated. Whoa, we get anti-Semitic brain rot and AI slop all in one video. I don't know about you guys, but I'm having a great time.
It's pretty fun.
Okay, so at the start you've got these Nazi soldiers sitting around drinking Vril monster.
Take AI away. Take it away. Take it away.
Then you see some Nazi UFOs flying past the ice wall in Antarctica. Apparently, there are some legitimate conspiracy theories that Nazis were building UFOs during World War II. And then at the end of the war, some of them escaped and flew their UFOs to Agartha, and they still live there. Next, we see a shot of these Nazis fighting with these lizard people. I'm guessing that these lizards are meant to be archons. I talked about this a little while ago in a video on my other channel, but archons are supposedly alien lizard people who shapeshift into Jewish people.
Fucking skinwalkers.
The idea of archons was popularized by this dude named David Icke, who claims that there's a cabal of Jewish people who run society, but that they are actually secretly shapeshifting lizard people. So the Nazis are fighting with these lizard aliens, but then they walk up to this pyramid where there are these white aliens. I'm pretty sure that these aliens are meant to be Pleiadians, also known as Nordic aliens.
Naturally.
If you didn't know, Nordic imagery like Nordic runes are very popular with Nazis. So I think the idea is that these Nordic Pleiadians are the good aliens which are trying to help the Aryans. And maybe Ashtar Sharon is like the king of the Pleiadians. So you've got a classic fight of good...
Again, always just devolves into some fucking Dungeons and Dragons bullshit. Why? And even when you think about the Nazis, bro, Hitler was very much like obsessed with the uniforms. Like, he was like very particular about the uniforms. The uniforms had to be like perfect. They have to be perfect.
Versus evil. You've got the good Nordic.
Did Hitler have a wife even, by the way? That's how you know that nigga was gay, bro. You don't become a dictator with that much clout and that much like power and just not have fucking 20 wives, bro. If, you know what I'm saying? And just not have like a whole harem of women if you're straight. That's what all the straight dictators do. They just have a fucking just a harem of women. Did Hitler even have like a woman? If she did, it was just for show, clearly.
Aryans fighting against the evil lizard Archon aliens and Jewish people. And the Aryans need to harness the Vril from Shambhala's black sun so they can use it to fight the Archons, aka Jewish people. Is all of this the stupidest shit you've ever heard in your entire life? Maybe, but just remember that a ton of Nazi leaders actually believed this shit. There was apparently a secret occult society of Nazis called the Thule Society where they actually believed in a bunch of this shit. It's pretty interesting that some of the people who accuse the left of being a cult support this cult of mystic Nazis. It's almost like a lot of the things that they said about Jewish people were actually projection. Kinda like how people on the right accuse people like Hillary Clinton of wanting to eat children and harness their adrenochrome.
Right.
But then at the same time, they support people like Peter Thiel, who literally gets infusions of child blood because he thinks it'll help him stay younger. Not saying I support...
The irony. What about the emails? Well, who gives a fuck about Trump's emails? They're coming for the children. Well, you know, what did Megyn Kelly say again? Oh, yeah, barely legal. 15, 14-year-old girls, barely legal. Right. The irony, man.
Support Hillary Clinton or anything. Although I do feel pretty bad for her if it turns out that her husband really was cheating on her by getting blown by Trump on Epstein's Island. It's pretty interesting that Trump and the Clintons were apparently both incredibly corrupt. It's almost like the main problem in society is the 1% in general.
Wow.
And all of these...
It's like that just keeps coming back up. The billionaires, they're just like fucking evil or something.
Incredibly corrupt rich people. Anyway, I think that's about enough for today.
Oh, yeah. That's more than enough, actually. Too much, really. But that's what's going on with the alt-right pipeline. It is now devolving into just memes and memifying itself. But never forget, a lot of horrible things that have happened in human history started off as just like people LARPing and joking around. Like, nobody just commits a hate crime. Think about it. Nobody just wakes up, gets up off their couch and finds somebody that they have prejudice against and assaults them. It starts off with joking around. Then it goes from joking around to really talking shit and meaning that shit. Then it turns into confronting the people, right? Just being confrontational and aggressive and just mean to the people. Then it turns into finding ways to slight them. And then it turns into, let's boot up the ovens. Let's turn on the furnaces. Let's get these people out of here. But hey, man, thank you for watching. You let me know what you think in the comment section down below. And until next time, peace out.